A lot of signings, lots of trades. And thought we would start out the segment by just doing one winner and one loser for each of us. And yeah, so why don't you start off with your loser first, and then we'll go from
My
there.
loser first. Okay. All right. Get the bad out of the way.
Yeah.
All right. My losers could be a bit of a hot take. I don't know, but my losers are the Tampa Bay Lightning for a couple reasons. Number one is the John Carlson contract. So I don't think that this is like inherently a terrible move for them. I understand why they did it. But when you really like when you boil it down, the reason why they had to make this move is because they got rid of Darren Radish, number one, and they were clearly in on Werenski, and they thought they were going to get a deal done. And then he came out and said he wanted to stay in Columbus. And right after they signed John Carlson, it's 2 years, 8.5 million, and he's 36. He's not quite the same defenseman he used to be. He's still a good defenseman, and I think that this is probably the best move Tampa Bay could have made given the circumstances. But the fact that it got here, I still think it's a lose. Like they are now, in my opinion, a worse team losing Radish and having John Carlson, an aged John Carlson. And secondly, they also signed Ilya Mikheyev for 4 years at 3.85 million, which is not a disaster. It's not a terrible move or anything, but Mikheyev has been pretty injury prone recently. He's 31, and he's kind of always been this kind of like guy he was there, but he's never really been like a huge impact player in my opinion, especially watching him in the Leafs over the years. So I think that's kind of an okay move. The Nick Paul move was a decent move for both teams with the Leafs. Doesn't really move the window too much. So yeah, that's I would say Tampa Bay. Not a disaster, but they're definitely my losers so far
Yeah, and
for
it
the
just feels
trade
like they haven't done a whole
season.
lot to really get better, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Moving on to my loser, I think the San Jose Sharks as a team, it's kind of a weird one. I think some people may see it as a big win for them or a big loss, and for me, it's more about we are talking about this earlier. It's the process of how you go about things, and we were like comparing it and like contrasting it as to Chicago, right, and how much they're rushing their process, and it feels like San Jose had been up to this point doing a really good job, in my opinion, of building it up properly and slowly, and getting the right players in place, and not signing any dumb contracts. Um, Going out and trading for Darnell Nurse, not only that, giving assets up for Darnell Nurse and bailing the Edmonton Oilers out of that contract and taking it on yourself, in my opinion, is a bad move. I understand that you want to get better now, and it makes them better now. It does, but it doesn't help the longevity of your team, in my opinion, right? And you can say the same thing about the Truba deal. I think that one is not as bad. I think the Truba is a really solid defenseman, and he brings a lot of things that they need. He brings that physicality, the grit. So I don't hate that move, but I just think overall, and then of course the Marchment signing too. That's another one where it's a guy that he's a good player, but he's not really worth that kind of money. And it feels like all of a sudden out of nowhere they're trying to rush the process again, and I have no idea why because they've been doing such a good job. I thought they made a really good trade at the draft to acquire, and then they get two really good players in the draft, and then they do this, and it feels like they're going backwards. Contrasting that towards like we are saying with Chicago, that what they're doing and making crazy signings and bad trades. And then you look at like a team like Montreal who just keeps doing it the right way. And I thought San Jose was kind of the Western version of them until today, and now I have concerns a little bit. I still think they are a better team, and I think they might make the playoffs this year. So overall, like it's hard to say it's a loss. You know what I mean? Because they got better, but it just feels like they got better through a bad process, if that makes sense. And that's why for me they're a bit of a loser, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it's also just all those moves in conjunction. Like, I think
Yeah.
if they had maybe just made one of those or two, we're maybe not having this conversation.
Yeah,
But
like if
it's
they
just
just
like,
signed Truba, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's fine. I know it's maybe a little bit expensive, but I can understand where they're coming from, why they're going that way. But like, especially the nurse one. The nurse one, I couldn't believe that they got Edmonton had nowhere to go there,
yeah,
right? You bailed out a division rival and gave them the opportunity to now turn into we know is going to be your winner, right, of this free agency. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that move, and like I said, like I just don't rush the process. Get back to doing things the right way, hopefully. But yeah, overall, it's not a huge loss. I'm not like they didn't destroy like the whole thing, but I didn't love it for them personally.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'd have to agree. Anyways, on to the winners. As you just spoiled, my winner is the Edmonton Oilers. I think they've done a fantastic job so far. Moving Darnell Nurse is in itself is such a win for them, and the fact that they actually got like some prospects like in return, like obviously these guys aren't like high level prospects, but like it's something to add to your pipeline, and they didn't have to give up anything or retain any salary. So
Yeah, it's huge,
I think I
huge.
think that's huge, huge move for them. And then just overall, I think they're just making a lot of good moves. I mean, like re-signing Connor Brown. They know what kind of player he is. He's a guy who forechecks hard, puts some points up, sound defensively, right? Joel Armia is a really good ad for them, I think, because they need some defensive responsibility and more penalty killing, and that's exactly what he brings. 2 years, 4 million, so 2 million a year. I think you take that all day. Same thing, sort of with Luosterainen. Is it just another good, solid bottom six player that's going to add some defensive responsibility, penalty killing. Ryan Lindgren, a good stay-at-home defenseman, a guy that's going to shut down stuff, which is again another need for Edmonton. And then the big two moves that I really like is number one, they signed Freddie Anderson. They finally make a goaltending move. We've been screaming it for so long, and they've finally done something. And I think it's a good contract. 1 year, 1 million up to 2.8 based on performance bonuses. I think if he plays like over 10
Yeah,
games, so like likely
it's a
he's gonna get
no-brainer. It's a no-brainer move for them.
2.8. Yeah, so that's a no-brainer. Great move. And they also got Levi as well, who's not done super well, but he's just another goalie they can add to their pipeline and just it's
Yeah,
another shot. Maybe this guy turns into someone that can be valuable for them. And then a sneaky move that I like that is actually a player I wanted the Leafs to sign. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't. Is Ryan Shea. So Ryan Shea, a lot of you guys are probably going, who's Ryan Shea? He played on Pittsburgh, and last year was the first time he's played like a full NHL season. He put up 35 points in 82 games. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Now he is 29 years old, so he's a bit of a late bloomer. But if there's any position in hockey, other than goaltending, I guess
yeah,
that you know players can come on late in their careers, it's defense. So I mean, he's been a reliable, like guy defensively. He was a big penalty killer for them, and he put up 35 points in 82 games, as I said. And the Oilers just got him for 4 million a year, for 5 years. And with the way the cap's going up, that's nothing. So I think it's a great shot.
I like
There's
British.
a little
Yeah,
bit of risk. Yeah,
I
there's a
like Ryan Shea. Yeah,
tiny yeah, there's a little bit of risk there because it's like, okay, well, let's see him do it again, right? But if this guy even does like a little bit of what he did last year, with even just a little bit of regression, you're laughing. That's a great deal.
he's a
So
solid middle pairing guy. I mean,
yeah,
he fills in where like what you lost for Nurse, in my opinion, and you're doing it for half the price, basically.
and he's much more sound defensively, which is what Edmonton needs. Edmonton
Yeah,
does not need to cheat for offense. You have
no,
the best offensive player on the planet with paired with
two of
one
them
of the other.
basically.
You have two of them, and
Yeah,
then you have other guys too surrounding them
and
that
you
are good
have maybe the
offensively.
best offensive defenseman too, arguably. I'm not saying he is, but
Yeah. Yeah, you can certainly make that argument, right? So they don't need to cheat for offense. So you get a guy like Ryan Shea who's maybe even a little bit less. He's a little more underwhelming defensively or offensively than Darnell Nurse, but he's for sure more responsible. So I think you take that trade all day.
yeah, and yeah, so like you're just saying with the trade, like the fact they get off that Nurse contract for nothing is and actually got stuff in return is just that's a huge win in itself. And then they make all these little
Yeah.
moves as well, especially the goaltending stuff because we've been saying, like you said, it's always an issue for them. And people want to say, well, the defense isn't good enough, and that's part of it. But you have to have goalies that know how to win too. And Freddie has done some winning. You just saw him win a cup. I know he didn't finish the job, but he was there and he had some big games for Carolina, right? And I like the addition of Levi too. I mean, he's struggled, but he hasn't really had a solid like runway, and so maybe he gets a good chance at Edmonton here and proves himself, right?
Yeah, and
Still,
like The numbers don't lie. The goaltending has not been good enough. It has been subpar. Like,
No.
just look at the numbers. It has not been good enough.
Yeah,
So
and I like you have three guys now, in my opinion. Like between one of them, hopefully one of them, like even Jari could have a bounce back. Like between the three of them, hopefully one of them is solid enough to get you through and to hopefully push for a cup. Like I think that they've done a good job with what they have with limited assets and limited like cap room to actually make the goaltending much better than it was last year.
yeah, 100%.
Like
Edmonton doesn't need the best goal in the league. They just need someone who's capable and actually a starter. That's all they need.
even Freddie Anderson at this point in his career, I think is a better goalie that they've had. When like as long as he's healthy and playing, of course, then I don't even know since when. Like
I couldn't name anybody to be
maybe
honest.
Mike Smith when he was cooking for a little bit back then. Like there's yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a huge yeah. I think it's a huge W for the Oilers. I mean, are they a way better team than they were? No, but did they address some areas that were weak, like the contract and the goaltending? Yes, and so
Yeah, these aren't sexy moves, but they are good, solid, sound moves. You don't need sexy moves. You have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You just need some insulating. That's all they need.
yeah,
And I think these are
exactly.
really, really, really good moves.
Definitely, I agree, 100%.
All right, now let's hear your winner here.
Yeah, so I think the last winner here is Utah. Not the last winner, not that there's no one else that had a good day, but I think they had a bit of a quiet day because a lot of people don't like give a shit about Utah. But I mean, you get Vincent Trocheck, who, I mean, let's just be honest, he's a great player. He's great offensively. He's great defensively. You get more center depth. Most people are dying for the center depth. And then you go and sign Anders Lee for a decent contract, a guy who, has a lot of experience, winning and leading teams. I know the Islanders haven't been the most successful team, but I think he's a great player that can help them win now. And you look at how, like, honestly, this year I thought they were like a pretty solid team and they were pretty close to getting to that next step. And I think adding a couple more pieces like this can really make a difference for them. A little more scoring and a little more defense goes a long way. And they were very close, I think, to maybe beating Vegas with those two pieces. Maybe they do. And you get through Vegas, and then who knows what happens. So I think with these additions, you're now getting pretty close to maybe contending for like that third spot in that division. Not saying they're going to because it's a tough division, but they 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 keep making like every year there's a little bit of progress. And they're not rushing the process like we talk about. They're doing it the right way. They're not making any crazy signings or crazy trades, but they're just making the right deals at the right time to build their team in the right way. And I think that Utah, ever since they've moved from Phoenix or Arizona, they've been doing this every year basically, and they keep getting a little better. And I think this year they're going to get even better again. And it's going to make it harder for some of those teams in the Pacific to get one of those wildcard spots because I don't think they're going to be going anywhere.